Like when you're getting hit, it's like, oh, I made a mistake. I like deserve to get hit by that.
Actually, I'm sorry to disagree with my boy Moxsy. I have never deserved to be hit by any of the moves. And I'm gonna be honest when I say this. I've actually never in any game ever been hit by a move. It has only ever been from some other problem. It was either a bad hitbox. It was either the cat was sitting on my keyboard, my controller got unplugged, I wasn't playing on a CRTV, there was sun in my eyes, it was my little brother playing, I was lagging because I'm from Alaska, it's a frame rate related issue, or my computer crashed. We're tanky and we have damage. Editor, I swear if you put that in the video, you're fired. Welcome! Let me give you your weather report. Boom! There's the outdoors, blue skies, and a nice balmy 14 degrees in sunny Alaska. We are in what I would consider the final countdown. We're very close. Should you spend the $30 on the early access? It's a good thing that we have
what is up? Moxsy
my boy Moxsy.
Today, we're going to be talking about if you should try Path of Exile 2.
There you go. Should you play Path of Exile 2? Biggest changes from PoE for a new player breakdown. Moxsy Poison Ranger enjoyer, I know. We'll forgive him for being a Ranger player.
For those of you that have played hundreds, if not thousands of hours of Path of Exile 1, the answer to this question is probably pretty obvious.
The answer to if you should play is no, you should not. So that way there are less people trying to log in on the 6th. And we all get to log in easier and sooner with less of a queue. So if you haven't bought it yet, stay away. The game's actually garbage. There's no reason for you to log in. That's the plan, guys. It discourages everybody.
I know plenty of friends and people that visit my Twitch have not tried the game or have been turned off by the fact that you need multiple programs running to play it, and maybe you need a master's degree to understand.
Literally within 45 seconds of me landing on the beach in PoE 1, everyone was trying to get me to download multiple programs. They wanted Path of Building so I could figure out a build when I didn't even know what a skill gem was yet. They wanted me to download loot filters. They wanted me to download PoE Awakened Trade so I could do value of all of the items. And they wanted me to learn PoE Ninja so I could figure out a build and also like go watch Scissorhands University. I had homework before I'd even moved my character. Basically, the first thing you do when you log in is to log out and then go do everything else and then you log back in. That's immediately what happened when I tried playing the game blind for the first time.
I am by no means a master of the game or anything like that, but I have gotten to play it, and I want to speak on this video about 10 of the things that Path of Exile 2 is improving from Path of Exile 1, not only to make it a better game, but to make it more accessible and an easier access point into an incredible franchise.
Okay, I'm going to guess what the points are. Descriptors in game, video descriptors in game, the flask change, the color sockets removal.
The very first big improvement with Path of Exile 2 has to do with these skill gems. Path of Exile 1, if you booted up on a brand new character, one of the most frustrating things was you just couldn't see 99% of what was going to become available to you, because
that's actually a great point that I really didn't think about that much. Like I was used to like, oh, well, the descriptors and all that, but like the skill gems themselves, how many times have you guys told me, oh, that skill gem is in PoE 1, or like, hey, there's a skill gem that exists that I literally didn't even know existed? I think that this presentation breakdown of the menu is going to make that a lot less intimidating. You can see them like straight up in your inventory for each individual gem, so you're encouraged to like explore a little bit more, as opposed to like you have to go to Lily and then you look at a million different skill gems that are available and you have to like, oh, well, what does this one do? What's this one? You can't even see the names of them, etc. So you have to like literally hover over all of them. So now you can actually like see the names of them, see like the color that's sort of associated with it. Like it's a much better presentation.
As you're playing the game, you're going to get skill gems that come with a like level, and they're going to be uncut skill gems. And any skill can be used as a main attack or main thing, but it organizes it in a way that you can kind of get a feel or an idea by looking through the skills that are going to become available to you of what kind of build you want. And
it's much more obvious to piece it together. I completely agree with him on this point. You know what the drop rate on gems would be? I feel like I got them at a good enough pace that it wasn't so bad. They also mentioned in interviews that it's not like a pity system, but like if you don't find one earlier, like if you don't open up a chest to get like an extra skill gem or whatever, and like some of the exploration points, they make sure that you like get the drop. They make it a lot easier, basically. They make sure that you are actually acquiring what you need to acquire. I didn't find that the skill gems were too few. I was able to like continually level up my moves, etc. with the skill gems.
A dedicated video will play in the game with a voiceovered...
This is so nice. Like, actually being able to see the move you're going to pick. This is like my favorite change, straight up.
video of the skill talking about what it does and how it's used. You'll be able to highlight like different skill tags on everything and have
that is in my opinion like the straight up best change for the health of being able to understand the game for new players. Like that is just amazing.
them fully explained to you. It's just so much easier to get into the game as a new player and decide what build you want to go for, because everything is laid out and you can make informed decisions without having to rely on like guides and external sources.
Completely agree.
The next big improvement has to do with currency. Now, there's kind of two sides to this. First off, gold will become a resource in the game. Gold was recently added as a like currency that you could earn from killing enemies in Path of Exile 1, and it's back in Path of Exile 2, but they've also improved the like crafting currencies pretty drastically.
The gold is going to be like super important for making sure you be able to get your gear upgrades, because I struggled at this point where when I was going into Act 2, I didn't have like that great of gear, and I kind of had to use the currency or like the Gamba store in order to actually be able to get some good gear, because I was just not getting the drops that I needed from like boots, gloves, chests. Like I just kept getting like stuff for other classes, etc. So I really had to kind of lean on the gambler. Also, a good point that Havoc made was that when you actually are disenchanting stuff, the disenchanting is like you get like one shard for disenchanting, which you need like 20 of them to get an item or whatever. So you're gonna have to disenchant a fuckload of items when you could really just use the gambler and maybe get something anyway, which is kind of like the same thing. So I think a lot of people are going to use the gambler until they get currency, basically.
Crafting in Path of Exile is definitely one of the more daunting things to start to be understanding. And one of the things that the director talked about of the game is that crafting currencies are going to be dropping way more often. And so you'll have a lot more opportunity to mess with them, and you're encouraged to use them while you're playing through the game.
I'm glad that they kind of tested the currency exchange in the Gold and Settlers League in order to kind of smooth it out, because the Gold edition for PoE 1 is maybe my favorite edition since I've been playing the game. Like being able to gamble, being able to use the currency exchanger, these felt not like just league mechanics added to the game, but they felt like they immediately fit into the game perfectly. Like I really, really enjoyed the currency exchange. I found it extremely annoying to have it to do like a quick trade just to convert like divines to chaos to alts or whatever. Did not enjoy that at all. The one thing I'll say about it is currency exchange is so good that it makes me like not want to play SSF. I'm kind of leaning towards playing SSF when PoE 2 comes out, but the currency exchange is so strong that it makes me just want to play like standard because of how much like the currency exchange is actually just super useful.
The next big improvement has to do with support gems, the massive rework that they've done to them, and the removal of like links.
Thank God I don't have to sit there and spam links. I will not be able to farm my link clips as often. So now I'm not going to get shorts of me like pogging out, hitting like an absolutely insane, you know, I click one time and I got a 6 link. We lose those as content farmers. However, this is in exchange for that, we don't have to deal with the dog shit of linking these anymore. Again, this makes SSF feel better.
You put an attack gem and it's connected to multiple support gems. That attack gem will just deal more damage. And that was your primary way of scaling up your skills. But a lot of the gear that you'd be finding on the ground would be useless to you because it didn't have the right colors or it didn't have enough links.
Yeah. Then you end up having these weird crafting scenarios where it's like you use the crafting bins to like remove a socket, then add a socket, remove a socket, add a socket. Like there was all of this like weird min-max knowledge that the only reason you would ever have to use that is like a jury rig around the mechanical system of trying to get the exact color you need on whatever base it was. It's like, does the knowledge exist and actually give you a benefit because you know the knowledge sure doesn't need to exist? And is it like a good knowledge to be able to memorize? I didn't like it. Having to constantly redo the sockets and shit. It was cool to be able to like, oh wow, I can use this knowledge to gain me a benefit. Yeah, that was nice, factually. But does it need to exist? Does it make the game better? I don't think so.
All of this is just going away in Path of Exile 2.
I completely agree.
They're doing a very, very simple system that still is going to have depth to it. You're going to just have a skill and you can put support gems on it, but you don't need to worry about colors or links. You just put whatever support gems on.
You just play the
skill that
game
you want to use, and it's supported. It gets those buffs. The next big thing, and this is kind of just like a feel of the game type thing, and I really noticed it when I was playing it. You might not notice it if you watch some gameplay.
Please go into bosses, because this is the part that's like actually straight up just my favorite part about PoE. The bosses are just so fucking cool.
I've got a little example I want to point out here. Everything has much better hitboxes.
Well, he didn't play Warrior then, because when I was playing Warrior, if I missed my Bone Shatter one more time, I was going to put my controller through the screen. But yeah, I mean, fair enough.
You know, sometimes an attack will just miss you by inches, and it actually misses you by inches. Like, everything actually has realized hitboxes, and that makes the boss fights feel more impactful, but it also makes, like, the enemies that you're fighting feel a lot more dynamic.
I mean, he's right, though, because, like, the reason, like, I'm complaining because my move didn't hit it more often, but the reason I wanted it to hit is because, like, that was close enough. But, like, if it actually hit, it worked. It's just if it was just a little off, it wouldn't hit, because the hitboxes are actually real. I mean, this is a point I didn't actually think about, but yeah, no, he's right. You can see this in my warrior play when I'm, like, trying to dodge attacks in the Act 2 final boss, because I'm, like, really having, like, the dodge is very close.
This was some mercenary gameplay, and the boss goes down, and they've got a slanted arm right here, and the character shoots a grenade which rolls, and the grenade like hits the top and like rolls off the side.
Oh shit, I never noticed that.
Lands off the side of the arm. And that was like, I know it's like a small little thing, but it comes down to the overall feel of the game. Not only is the combat of Path of Exile 2 much more weighty, it's slower, everything feels more intentional, but the enemies that you're fighting, their hitboxes feel so much more real, that like when you're getting hit, it's like, oh, I made a mistake, I like deserve to get hit by that, or I could have played this better.
Actually, I'm sorry to disagree with my boy Moxsy. I have never deserved to be hit by any of the moves. And I'm going to be honest when I say this. I've actually never in any game ever been hit by a move. It has only ever been from some other problem. It was either a bad hitbox. It was either the cat was sitting on my keyboard, my controller got unplugged, I wasn't playing on a CRTV, there was sun in my eyes, it was my little brother playing, I was lagging because I'm from Alaska, it's a frame rate related issue, or my computer crashed.
The next big improvement has to do with the skill tree. Now, the skill tree in Path of Exile 2 is still massive, and it's still quite complex, but there's a few really big changes to it that's going to make it a lot more easy to spec into if you're not following.
Dude, what is this node? Look at this like circle over here, dude. There's so many more. Like, is it just me or the nodes feel like they just have more like shit condensed in them? Like before, it's like you hit like 3, 1, 2, 3. Now it's like here's like 8, 9 in there. Like this thing's fucking huge. You really commit a lot more to like these individual massive nodes.
You guide, and you're just doing it on your own. First off, you're going to be able to easily respec with gold, so if you pick a node that you don't like or you want to change something later, you can just go back and respec it. Now, one of the big things about leveling in Path of Exile 2 was picking up health, and as someone who played through Path of Exile 1 blind and didn't go for any health nodes and completely bricked my character, it was really frustrating. And now
I've never bricked a character. That is yet to happen. I just stopped deciding to advance with the character.
The skill tree has removed basically health nodes entirely. Now, there's still nodes to go and grab survivability. You're still going to want to do that, but you can really go for more interesting things.
Also, the fact that there is no HP nodes other than that one like 3%er on this skill tree means that 20% more HP that we're going to be getting as a Titan is absolutely disgusting. Like, the Titan's HP pool is about to be out of this planet. We're like the only people actually getting more HP. Strength stacks HP, you get more, you get the percentage increase, we have the highest defenses. Like, I don't know why you would not play Titan. So you're 100% going Titan? I'm going Titan. Confirmed I'm playing Titan. I'm playing Titan. I'm not going to get baited by this sorcerer, you know, shit. We're playing Giga Chad, Giant Hammer Boy. Yo, see, Warrior playthrough first.
Like,
and then if my character gets bricked because I picked the worst class, then we'll play Sork.
I know the skill tree does still look overwhelming and complex. One thing that is like really important to understand about Path of Exile is when you pick a starting class, you get a starting point. So like, for example, like if you're playing Ranger, right, you might start right here, and all of the nodes in your immediate vicinity when you start as a class are going to be pertaining to you.
Exactly. So when you pick a Titan, all your starting nodes are, you are 50% more handsome, you have a 50% large, you are loved by more people, the men fear you, the women want to be with you. Like those are the starting nodes when you pick Warrior.
If I start right here, basically anything that is like, you know, just in general, anything that is on this side of the tree, if I'm starting here, is going to be too far away for me to focus on. You could just ignore all of this. And a lot of times
he is 100% correct. He even has the arrow going the right way. You ignore everything that's not this area. This is strength Unga Bunga build. This is where the Giga Chads will stay right here. If you're in any of this other area, you're already up.
In Path of Exile 1, one of the big things as a new player was you had, like, basically piano flasks, where you had 5 flasks.
Oh, God, I hated this shit. Honestly, the only thing worse than that was having to, like, do the war cries over and over again. Like, having to shit, it's like, dude, stop.
They've narrowed down flasks from 5 flask slots just to 2, so it's much more easy to maintain. They've also added WASD mouse support so that you can use your, like, keyboard to move around. And
what are people going to play on? Are you playing on controller, WASD, or click to move? Like, what you guys think you're going to be playing on? Like, I'm actually curious. I've been asked about WASD so much. Holy shit, everyone's on WASD. Okay, all right, that's enough that we need a poll. Holy 12% controller enjoyers. All right, controller Andes, I see you. That's actually way more. I thought this would have been flip-flopped with click to move being like 60%, to be honest.
But the ability to use WASD felt way more comfortable for range classes where I could just be clicking on the enemies that I want to shoot and not have to constantly be moving my mouse left and right to move and then flick it up to enemies to go click on the ones that I wanted to shoot.
Look, honestly, I didn't have this problem at all because when I would click, I was doing click to move. When I went to attack a monster, what would happen is I would click rolling slam. I would go up and use the restroom. I'd go make myself a sandwich and get a drink and all that to take a break. I'd come back, and by then he's starting to execute the second part of rolling slam, and I would continue the game. So I really didn't have this issue of having to like worry about micro movement because it's more what I would call like macro movement. I wasn't doing like DPS. I was doing like attacks per hour pretty much.
And the other thing that kind of has to pertain to that is couch co-op. I was actually given the opportunity to play couch co-op as someone who kind of got into video games partly through couch co-op. I used to play a lot of Diablo 3 couch co-op.
Couch co-op's based. It's not really couch co-op. It's more like couch spectatorism is how I got into video games. The first video game I ever saw was Super Metroid. My dad was on Mother Brain, and like the audio, this is part of the reason I like boss fight audio. It's like dun 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 dun, you know, he's like blah blah blah, he's like blasting the Mother Brain audio. I'm like arr, 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 like the Mother Brain's freaking the fuck out. He's shooting, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like scared, so I'm like hiding behind the couch. I'm like, this is so scary. And I feel like Super Metroid straight up has the best exit scene of any game I've still ever played. Like literally any fucking game, because as soon as you kill the boss, like the entire place is shaking, the camera's literally turning. It's like, you gotta get the fuck out, like, and you have to go back up the entire world that you went down, and you're like jumping, like side jumping, you're fighting shit, people are trying to stop you, everything's blowing up, and you get out there and you hop on your ship and you're like blasting out before the whole fucking planet explodes. Like, it's actually just the coolest exit ever. So, Super Metroid for me, I started with what I would consider an absolute goated game with what, like, my first experience ever seen. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. It's funny that I do it for now for work, but like my core childhood memories are me watching other people play video games, like watching my dad play video games, watching my brother play video games. The whole reason I talk about RuneScape, and I love RuneScape so much, is I watched my brother trying to play RuneScape Classic back in the day. He didn't even like it, but him and his friends were playing it. So I'd always just play whatever game my brother would play. So my brother would play like The Sims, I'd try Sims. He'd play Age of Empires 2, I'd play Age of Empires. He'd play like Wacky Wheels, I'd play Wacky Wheels, whatever the game was. And I would watch him play the games, and I'd be like, I'm going to try. Because me and my brother would have to go back and forth on a timer. We had only 20 minutes at a time we were allowed to play the computer. My brother's the only one to like find the games. Like, I didn't really know how to find a game. He'd pick and find a game. And we'd set a timer on the stove for 20 minutes. And then we'd have to sit there and wait. And it'd be like, beep, beep, beep. Okay, 20 minutes. Get the fuck off the computer. It's my turn. And you would take over and you play whatever game. Now, you could play a different game if you wanted. Like, you could take your 20 minutes and start booting up like Command & Conquer or something. But if you do that, then you are 100% gutting like 2 or 3 minutes out of your time. Because you have to realize starting up a game took forever. Like, you have a slow ass computer, start up a computer, you're gonna wait a minute. So a lot of times I just end up playing whatever game he's played because I want to play the computer, but I don't want to gut my 20 minutes. You know what I mean? So anyway, this is way off fucking topic. But that right there is why Path of Exile 2 will be the greatest game ever made.
One of the big frustrations with couch co-op in Diablo 3 is if I wanted to manage my inventory or if I wanted to change a skill or something, my entire game would pause so that I could do that, and my buddy couldn't do anything.
How you guys feel about pause? It's in single player, if you open up your menu and shit, you can just like literally pause the game now. Are you guys cool with pause? Is it a W or is it an L for you? Because one of the things I liked is I could open up my passive tree when I got a level and like actually look at the screen and be like, okay, where do I want to put my passive tree? A lot of times while I'm playing the game, what would happen is like I'm literally not using my skill points because I get stuck in it. I would think maybe if it worked exactly the way the PoE 1 worked, maybe pause wouldn't be as so good. But because if you die, you have to start over, both in the campaign, the bosses, as well as the mapping. The ability for you to be able to pause to add a skill point in is actually kind of nice, because the punishment for death is significant in terms of a time loss, even early game. So for that reason, I'm kind of okay with a pause. Yeah, okay, so if you're in multiplayer, like co-op, I did couch co-op also, this is great. You can work on your screen and the other person can continue playing. You can even keep walking and like drag the other person along. So it's not like Diablo 3 where like the other person would have their screen up and you're stuck waiting. Like you actually can separately, independently navigate menus and screens. You can even trade gear across from each other. So if like I have an axe, but I want my partner to have the axe, there's literally a button that just sends it to the other guy in my couch co-op party. It's actually super nice. I know that the amount of people that actually care about couch co-op are not as big of a deal as I make it, but like I legitimately think there's a subsection of people that love couch co-op games and that do not get a good amount of couch co-op games. The fact that couch co-op is being developed very, very well done for the couch co-op players, I'm super thankful for, because it's cross-progression, cross-platform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all my live streams, but when I go off the live stream, me and the girlfriend, normally the end of our routine for the day is we'll lay in bed and play like a couple games on the PlayStation together. So we'll play things like Cat Quest, or we'll play Teamfight Tactics or RuneScape leagues or whatever on our iPads or on the PlayStation, or Balatro. We play a lot of Balatro. So for me, I've learned to really love couch co-op, but because we've been playing a lot of couch co-op games, we've discovered that a lot of couch co-op games are like not very good, or like don't actually have good features for couch co-op, or God forbid, literally aren't couch co-op at all. Because of that, when I started playing this and testing the couch co-op, I was like, I actually really think this is super cool, because I know there's other people like me that like want to play with people, and a lot of reasons they don't is because it's either trying to convince the person to play with you, it's like super scuffed, or they don't have the option. But like this game is going to be free and on console, and the couch co-op is developed really well. So I love that, because it's going to be free and on consoles. So you're going to have 1 million people try it, and consoles have a lot more of that couch co-op demographic. I know this wasn't developed for like the core audience, but the fact they put the effort into making this work really well, I was super thankful for that, honestly.
I think this is going to be one of the best couch co-op games on the market, because really there's just not many games that are like made with some couch co-op in mind.
Yep.
And this game definitely seems to be nailing that. And the very last thing that I really wanted to mention is just the amount of tooltips in the game. If you hover over any skill node, any gem, like literally anything in the game, the most simple things, they'll have these like underlined text things here where it says like armor's underlined, evasion's underlined, stunned, thresh.
I love that we're all praising this, and I've done my fair share of praising this a lot, pretty much every day. I do think this is what, in my opinion, is a bare minimum. I think all ARPGs should have this, that when you have a word that can be defined as doing something in the game, it should be explained in game. I actually think it's kind of crazy that this is not the standard in ARPGs. The whole game is based around like how mechanics interact, and the fact that so many games literally just don't explain their mechanics, or you have to figure it out, or they explain it but it's in some backwater way. Like I feel like this should be a new standard for all ARPGs. Like it should just do this. I don't understand why we have basically systems-based games that do not fundamentally explain their systems. Like when you come into the game, how are you supposed to know that more is better than increased? Like if you're a new player to the game and it's like, would you rather have 100% increased damage or 20% more damage? Which one would you like? The fact that they're explaining it is crucial to the understanding of the game.
And once again, I'm not like a game reviewer. I'm not saying go out and buy the game right now.
I'll say it. Go out and buy the game right now. $30 will be the best money you've ever spent in your entire life. 100% putting my entire reputation on the line. The game is good. Shout out to my boy Moxsy. It's a good video. He made a couple points that I didn't really think about, like the hitboxes. There you go. Go follow Moxsy. He's been starting to do a good amount of Path of Exile videos. Path of Exile, Path of Exile, Path of Exile. He's going in. We're converting not only from D4, but we're converting from the First Descendant. We're getting all of them, boys. Getting all of them. Look at this. Lily. Path of Exile 2 is fixing a huge problem that PoE 1 has. Long overdue.
All right. So something really big in PoE 2 that's changing is you can actually lose now.
True! So is this video going to be about the fact that, like, dying actually does something in the video game?
You only get one try per map or boss or encounter before you're locked out. If you die in a map, it turns red and you cannot go in there again. I think this is going to be very good for the health of the game in softcore.
The other part is, like, this is actually kind of nice for softcore in a way, because, like, having some stakes in the game that aren't just like, oh, if I fuck up, I lose my entire character, like, actually will make you feel like you achieve something. Like, if you go into a map and you know that, okay, if I die, I cannot, like, the boss fight's over, I gotta get another one or whatever, but you're on softcore, you can now actually have some weight to it and actually feel like an achievement. Like, you go, you beat the boss, you're like, fuck yeah, I managed to beat the boss. And you can actually feel almost like what it kind of feels like in hardcore, where you have, like, some weight to actually dying without actually losing your entire fucking character. There's also a really good point in chat that it will help teach people that defenses actually matter, which is actually kind of a good, like, bumpers, you know, like bowling bumpers for the game. Like, actually forcing people to learn that you want to work on defenses from the beginning is a very good thing, because defenses are incredibly important in PoE, and also is where people get frustrated. So a lot of times people get frustrated because they'll get to maps or something like that, and then they'll just get stuck and just immediately die over and over and over and over and over again. And they're like, I don't know what's going on. But if you kind of like guide them on the rails to worry about defenses and be like, yeah, you're going to have to make sure you don't die, then it kind of puts people in the right mentality from, like, the first map, basically.
The boss encounters are going to be actually difficult. You can actually fail them without just getting 6 free retries, and then you pick the loot up even though you just died to this guy 6 times. And
I think because the focus on bosses is so much more, like, major in Path of Exile 2, that putting this extra pressure, you know, I think it might be something maybe we're going to see negative feedback related. Like, I can already see the Reddit posts going. I can see the comments. People, I think there's going to be people that do not like this 100%. But kind of my argument for I mean, look, guys, how many times I get roasted for being ZDPS dog shit build? Like, I'm going to suffer from this as much as anybody. I'm glad it exists because I feel like it's actually going to add some achievement value to going through and actually beating something. And they can also make the rewards better if you only have, like, one attempt. So you can actually get rewarded more adequately for being able to defeat something. And the focus is more on actual boss fights in the game as opposed to just farming mobs over and over and over again. And then there's another good point in chat about, like, there'll be boss builds. There might end up being a little bit more focus on making sure your build can defeat a boss, because you're probably going to need to be able to progress your map, as opposed to I'm only making, like, a farmer, whatever. You'll probably still have farming builds that farm for bossing, etc. We'll see how this plays out, because I think there could be an argument to me maybe it actually feels a lot more terrible than it looks, because we're only looking at it. We haven't got a chance to play it. I mean, there could be a percentage of me that, like, I play this, I'm like, you know what, I was wrong. I actually don't enjoy this at all. I guess we'll find out. But, like, on looking forward into the future, I think, like, this actually sounds fun. I think it actually sounds kind of fun. So we'll see when we actually get our hands on it. But, like, my initial impression is, like, I like this change. There's also another point to be made here that I think people are kind of, like, missing, which is that in PoE 1, if you fail to defeat a boss, you feel a lot more gutted, because the boss itself costs you something significant in order to get it. You have to have, like, Uber invites, for instance, which like, invites are expensive economically wise. You have to invest to get the map. But in Path of Exile 2, getting the map just exists on the atlas from you running into the boss. So you don't actually have to, you have to invest your time in clearing the map, sure, but you're not necessarily having to, like, go out and purchase a whole bunch of maps to farm again over and over and over again. And the scarcity of the bosses might be something that comes into question, etc. I'm sure there's going to be people that are, like, giving currency in exchange for being able to run a boss with somebody on their map, etc. But it is sort of different in terms of having to have the map, and it's a consumable that you put in there that ends up basically costing you something. It has a value associated with it, as opposed to you have an opportunity to gain something.
Less people are going to be able to do the bosses, but what this could do is actually give bossing some value to it. It'll make it more worth doing instead of just being essentially, like, gambling, right? So yeah, I mean, it's not going to be for everybody, but I think for the health of the game, it's overall a very, very good thing.
That's how I feel too. It's like you can make the economic arguments, and you can make an argument I'm right or I'm wrong because of various reasons, and I guess we'll find out when the game actually comes out. But for me, the reason I'm looking forward to this is I actually feel like it's going to make it more fun. Like from a very basic standpoint, forget the min-maxing of, what does it mean to the economics and the players and the builds. It's just like, from a perspective, I think it will make it more fun. The bosses are scary, they're fun fights, they're larger fights, they're rarer fights, and they have some risk and reward to them.
Actually, what I think I'm going to do is go hardcore and then softcore, because when you die, I think it actually just puts you in regular softcore.
Wait, is that real? When you die, if when you die it puts you in softcore, then we're gonna start hardcore. Normally, when I think my hardcore character is dead, I just like dumpster him. I don't give a shit about him anymore. Your stash should be on hardcore though. Yeah. That's fair enough. But like, you can recover from losing your stash. You still have your character. Easy to check. Create character, get killed at level 1. That's a good point. If that's how it works, then we all go hardcore and see how far we can go. What do you guys say? We all run it together? Like, if we really can hardcore and then we die and we're just softcore, we all start hardcore, we see how far we can go. You can say in the chat when you die, it'll just be a fun thing. We lose maybe a couple hours the most. Like, it's not a big deal, right? And then we all just see how far we can go. You can post in the Discord when you die. I'll farm you guys as rip clips and put them up on screen, and we'll watch you guys die, and you can put them in the chat when you die. Go for world first hardcore death. Holy shit, that would be a great record.
That's about it.
We got the Moist Critical exit. That's about it. No, I actually 100% agree with her. I don't think I've seen a take by Lily I haven't agreed with yet. Okay, what do you guys think the odds are of the servers being dog shit? Like, you think it's 100% chance that it's absolutely going to be a problem? Poll? All right, we're going to poll it. Okay, so currently 69% nice of people are saying that they think it's going to be ass. 23% think it's a 50-50 chance, and less than 10% think like the service will be fine. Yeah, that seems right. I know you don't know what the monkey do, but what do you want the monkey to do? What do I want the monkey to do? I want the monkey to give me a percentage damage more increase of damage. I want the monkey to actually draw aggro as well as fight itself. I want the monkey to give me bonus defensive stats. I want the monkey to be able to stack and ramp with itself. And I want the monkey to have infinite HP while taunting. Is that too much? I also wanted to double my HP pool and generate currency. Is that possible? I also want the monkey to make the game launch sooner. I asked them, hey, can my unique item be that it makes the game launch sooner? The answer was no. So I tried, boys. So our boy, Mr. Legendary Drops, the man, the myth, the legend, he was there at the LA playtest and he got his hands on it. So apparently he's dropping it. I think Path of Exile 2 will shock the world. AKA, you know why it's going to shock the world? Because everyone's going to be running Lightning Mage. That'll freeze the world. So here we go. Let's see how Path of Exile 2 is going to shock the world.
I got the chance to play Path of Exile 2 for 8 hours straight. You jealous? And you guys have...
No, I'm not jealous, LD, because I was there with you, brother. I was sitting right there.
No idea what's in store for you. What's crazy is that you've seen the trailers, you've seen the reveals, but you don't know until you actually get your hands on it. Oh, God, is it glorious.
Yes, it is.
We're talking about an Elden Ring Baldur's Gate 3 level step up in a genre that has needed it for far too long. Lord knows we didn't get that from Diablo. What a disappointment that was. You know,
I reset the counter 30 seconds into the video, and 6 minutes into the live stream, we have received our first Diablo 4 bad. For the people keeping count at home, that is one Diablo 4 bad so far today.
The game is absolutely incredible. It is a transformative experience. It was a game that I could barely put down. They basically had to drag me out of there to get me to stop playing it.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everybody was playing to the last second. I mean, I have my footage right here. I'm going to show you. Okay, to be fair, this was a skill issue, but I literally played to the last second. That's why this last boss run here literally ends with me DCing. I played to the last second trying to beat the final Act 2 boss because I was getting shit on. I was like, I want to beat it, goddammit. I want to beat it. And then the server shut off of me, and I did actually have to get dragged out of there.
I want to talk about how it felt, how it looked, and what the future of this game is going to look like and how big of a deal this game is going to be. I'm going to start off by saying, while I am an ARPG...
See, the one that got free is Path of Exile 2, and this is like Last Epoch, Diablo 3, Diablo 4. Path of Exile 1, arguably. Name whatever game of your choosing as the other person. I don't know if the genre... I feel like the genre has changed a little bit, though. He says the genre hasn't changed that much. Maybe he's right. But I feel like, okay, you know what? It hasn't successfully changed. I think there's been a lot of people that have tried to change the genre, but I don't think it has successfully been innovated. Like D2, when it came out, and still probably is, like the peak of ARPG. And there's a lot of other ones trying to like get around it. It's like that really slow driver that's in the middle of the highway, and you kind of can't get around it. You're like stuck, and you're like, come on. There's been a lot of games that have come out trying to get around that slow driver to be at the forefront of the pack, but they have not really successfully done it. Diablo 2 is still like, and it's still pretty much the, genre defining one. It's the reason we call all games Diablo-like.
For most players, especially ARPG players, change isn't really necessary. The fact of the matter is, we just want more game to play, more loot, more classes, more skills, more bosses, and more hours to slowly become symbiotic with our computer chair or our couch.
I actually completely agree with them. Change is not necessary. I would say remastering is necessary. I think what people fail to realize is that the reason a lot of games were popular was because they were good. It's a very simple concept, and you can pretty much remake what was good. They do it with TV shows. They do it with movies. Like, they're making one movie, so then they'll make the next movie, and then they make 1, 2, 3, 4. They just make another one of them. They make Die Hard 23. How many Fast and Furiouses have there been? People like it, so why change the formula? You have a car that goes off and shoots a grappling hook and ropes back around. People like it. They don't want it to change. Yeah, John Wick, another good example. Just keep making what the people already like.
I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but ARPGs for me are kind of like meditation. While build crafting and comparing items requires you to be conscious, the gameplay itself doesn't. My brain seems to empty as I click through a level, tapping my same abilities over and over again, slowly disconnecting from reality as my screen is filled with visual effects. However,
he's saying that because he played Diablo 4.
Path of Exile feels genuinely fresh, like an actual evolution of their original title.
Yeah, it's a successor to their previous game. Like they're definitely different enough that some people are still going to only play PoE 1, but it feels like a true successor. They didn't phone it in. They're not doing a cash grab sequel. It's like a full, true, honest to God sequel.
And in the case of Path of Exile 2, it tempted me to explore every area fully rather than just push on and grind. You'll hear me
I feel like the exploration is actually going to be a key point because of the way they designed the bosses, where each boss like gives you a unique reward. I actually think that was super smart and one of the best decisions they've made. I'm actually very glad too that by the time we've done the third playtest, they actually did markers on the screen, because I think a lot of these bosses are very easy to miss. I know this for a fact because I actually missed bosses on my first and second playthrough, but once they had them marked on the map, I was like, oh, like there's ones I missed, I can go back and do them. I think that was a smart addition.
This game shares a lot with Elden Ring. Sometimes you just want to walk around and look at the game, look at its environments, and marvel at its architecture. Something altogether foreign in a genre like this. I'm sure some of you guys are going to find this odd, as it's not something that people typically go looking for in a game like this, but I was floored by the game's sound design.
Oh yeah, I feel like sound is extremely important, especially when you're playing like a warrior with a mace and you hear this big thunk, thunk, like you need the weight of it to be felt, both audio as well as visual, for sure.
This game is going to be free at one point. People are going to be able to play this for free. There are fully priced titles that don't deliver this kind of quality.
I don't understand a lot of the comments I see. Like, I've been getting comments on my channel like, wow, I'll never play this game. It's a cash grab. I'll never play this game. It costs hundreds of dollars. It's like, look, if you want to leave this game to the people that are willing to play a game that will eventually be free when it's out of early access, that's fine. You can just not play it. I actually don't give a fuck if you decide to play it or not, because I will be playing it because the game is fun. And if you're upset that a well-designed game is asking $30, which, by the way, you also get your in-game purchase worth of that. That's not just for early access. It comes with the currency you can use for the stash tabs. Basically, the money that you need to spend in order to get stash tabs, the price of the game that people often elaborate is, you get that with the Path of Exile 2. And if you actually end up buying shit in Path of Exile 1 because the game costs $30 or whatever stash tabs, you get it anyway. Like, you straight up will have those currencies transfer.
The vast majority of fully priced titles don't deliver this kind of quality. I'm almost jealous of the people that get to play this once it's fully finished and that's their first time playing it, because it's going to be insane. What's really unique about this experience with Path of Exile is that you're going to have people that will come to play this just for the story. We've seen that with Diablo 4. There was a lot of people that really liked Diablo 4 just for its story, and then they ended up sticking around and playing it longer than that.
Yeah, it's
I think
true.
the same thing's going to end up happening to this game.
I actually think I've said this before, I still think the base campaign in Diablo 4 is pretty good. I think the expansion campaign's pretty bad. Yeah, actually, honestly, the campaign in all the games are, like, not that bad. D1, D2, even D3 and D4, like, their campaigns are all, like, acceptable to good, to really good, depending upon which game we're talking about. I don't really think the campaign's really the issue with the game. I think the worst campaign was Vessel of Hatred expansion, and then maybe Diablo 3.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's actually kind of hard to describe what the experience is because it's just that great. It gets even better.
Question, do you think he liked the game? Hand raise if you think that he was a fan of having played it. Having a hard time telling. Kinda? Mid? Yeah, he might, you know.
Isometric ARPGs are more known for being click-to-win games rather than anything else. While build crafting and randomized loot drive the experience, the combat has always been more of a vehicle that gets you into these game systems rather than the reason why you actually play these games. It's one of the things that I think that this genre has failed to evolve over the years. It's 10 years between Diablo 3 and Diablo 4, and the combat still hasn't changed that much. Even Path of Exile and Last Epoch don't really...
Yeah, they call them like system-based RPGs. Like, they're all about the system. So the focus point on the ARPGs are pretty much almost never on the combat until this point. Like, it's more about the ability to ramp your character to mitigate the fact that you even have to do combat. Like, basically, the less combat you're doing, the better you're doing. You're supposed to just be able to minimize the combat to basically trivialize it, and that's sort of like the power structure that people want to be able to get to in ARPG. So it's like, you know, if you're cookie clicker level of just shitting through everything, like, that's where people want to end up at.
Feel all that much different than a standard ARPG experience. However, Path of Exile 2 is the first real evolution in the genre, and I think it's going to make a huge impact on how this game is going to be received and how many people it's going to bring into its audience.
They're expanding the audience massively by focusing more on combat, by making it more user-friendly, by improving the graphics, by putting it on every platform. It's on Steam, it's on Epic Games, it's on Xbox, it's on PlayStation, it's on your nanny's Samsung fridge. Like, they're putting it everywhere, and they are hitting hard the points that are required in order to bring in a mainstream audience. And it's very overwhelmingly well received so far from early access reviews, etc. I saw, I think it was, I don't remember who it was saying, maybe it was a comment or maybe it was Ghazi. I thought somebody was saying that they think the game's going to have like over 1 million players on launch or make it to the top 10 of Steam all-time played. I don't know where I stand on predictions because I understand ARPGs are kind of more like a niche genre. It's not going to have the allure of Pokemon with like Power World. But I think it will debatably be the most played ARPG live service game other than Diablo 4 on launch. And then it will probably, from a time-based period of where we're at, eventually grow into the most played ARPG concurrently. Because I think Diablo 4 had a bajillion players on launch to see what the next Diablo type of game would have been. But we don't have numbers on what those are because it's in Battle.net and they're not sharing it and whatnot. So it's really hard to tell. It is early access, so you do have to buy into it. On full release, when it's free, we'll see a lot more players. But I think people underestimate the amount of people that are willing to spend $30 to test out a game. $30 to play a game on Steam that a lot of people will play for a couple hours and then not play anymore is very common on Steam. Even games that are like negatively reviewed, people will buy just to check out. I think a lot of people are saying like, oh, it's early access, I'm not going to spend, $30. Who's going to spend $30? And I think the answer is like a lot of people. I think there's a significant amount of people that will actually spend that amount of money on the game. Should I even play PoE first time? You can play PoE 1 if you want when you're just stalling, waiting for PoE 2. I don't think it's like a prerequisite. Path of Exile 2 is obviously marketed towards people that have never played Path of Exile 1. They want both audiences, honestly, but they are very obviously making an attempt to rope in people that have never played the original. So if you don't want to play the original, I don't think you're going to need to. But I think it will obviously give you a bit of a knowledge advantage. But I really don't think this is a game. I almost made a video about this morning. I still might make one, which is like, I don't min-max the fun out of the game. I think this is an opportunity for you to go in and actually try to enjoy a game. And you're going to see a lot of people that very firmly believe the way to play these games is to try hard as much as you possibly can And maybe if you're someone who gets enjoyment from that and from competition and from progression of character and from min-maxing, then absolutely go for it. That's the style you are. I know plenty of people that's the only way they enjoy games. But if you're not that type of person, but you feel pressured to be that type of gameplay person because of conversations or videos or friends, progressing faster than you, I would absolutely not do that. I don't think this is one of these games that from the beginning you need to force feed yourself, stuff you don't want to do. I think my playthrough in the beginning of Path of Exile would have been significantly more frustrating if I gave in to chat and downloaded loot filters and path of building and all of this shit. Later on, I'm glad I got it. Okay, and Path of Exile 1 is more complex, so the argument about using build guide and all that, there's fair arguments to be made. I think Path of Exile 2 is starting to tip the scales a little bit, where I think you can just play the game and enjoy it for a bit. And if you get stuck or you're starting to feel frustrated and it's ruining the game for you a little bit because of your progression, then start looking into it. But I really think there's an argument that you could min-max the fun out of the game by forcing your enjoyment, by picking stuff that you otherwise would not have come to the conclusion to pick yourself. If you go out there and you're like, okay, here's a build guide or a plan someone made, and they think that I should do an electrical mage with these support gems and all that looks really strong, so I want to play that. You are kind of robbing a bit of the experience from yourself of coming to the conclusion or discovering things that you like along the way. I actually had a conversation that was not recorded with Jonathan where I kind of asked him this type of concept. And one of the things that he said about this was that he liked it when people, because I was asking him particularly how the conversation started. So I was asking him particularly about like Path of Exile 2, showing videos and explaining interactions, etc. And he said he was kind of mixed on it because he knew people needed to have it, but he also likes the idea that when people find an interaction that's like obviously intended in the game, they still feel like they discovered something. And the concept of like, oh, this gem interacts with this gem and does this is a cool discovery. I've actually felt that, even though I know it's obviously like meant to do that, but the whole like throwing spikes as the warrior and then war crying and exploded the spikes, when I was like, oh wow, that combo works really well, it actually was a moment in the game of excitement. It's obviously intended. It literally says it right in the text, war cries will explode these, etc. But when you run into it yourself, it's actually exciting the first time, as opposed to if I had started the game with that interaction in mind before I even get the skills. And then I'm like, okay, I saw a video that explains this, and I'm going to go for that. Okay, now I got the Earth Shatter. Now I got the War Cry. Okay, there's the combo. Like, it's a different experience that you go through. So that's just kind of some thoughts I have on. I think different types of people are going to enjoy games different way, but there's an argument to be made that if you're not the type of people or person that really needs to be ultra competitive, I would just play the game and find these discoveries for yourself.
You'll be seeing more Path of Exile content from me, by the way. I have a few more videos that are planned, a couple other things that I want to dive into. There's a certain type of video that you guys may have seen on this channel that has yet to come out for Path of Exile, and believe me, it's coming.
More Path of Exile 2 content from LD confirmed. I think GGG's converted another one.
Usually this is about the time that we start to see some people pop up and say, want to throw their 2 cents into the bucket, and it usually ends up being a little bit tone deaf, but who knows? Maybe everybody will just universally like it and that'll be the end of the story. Yeah, probably not.
I have seen exactly 0 Path of Exile 2 hot takes of people coming out and being like, this game is bad. Have you guys seen a single review from someone who played the game where they said it was bad? Normally by now we'd see PC Gamer coming out with an article saying that the game is overrated dog shit. But, even the gaming journalists are all like on the right page with this one. Nope, game's good. All right, well, Path of Exile 2 roped in another one, boys. It's confirmed. We've got another convert. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as is tradition, we stream 12 p.m. PST. More PoE 2 tomorrow. We still have to talk about our unique item that we're going to make. I think we've decided on Titan, however. Thanks for coming by. We will be back tomorrow